Well, hello. Welcome to the live music marketing webcast here on January 2nd. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in and join me on this if you're watching live. And if you watch the replay later, well, thanks for watching it whenever you do. But Happy New Year to you. Happy New You. To you. It's another way of saying it. And I guess this is my, I love the whole New Year's resolution sort of frame of mind. You know, a new year is a opportunity for a fresh start. You wipe the slate clean. And I kind of getting off to it with a bang here by doing something I've never done, live streaming. I've been reading about it and wanting to do it for a long time, and so just like less than a week ago, I'm all about action. You know, I'm jumping into it probably sooner rather than later. Although I read about it for a couple of years before I actually did it, so maybe I'm not all about action all of the time. But when I was ready to do it, like less than a week ago, started researching more, doing some test runs with Google Hangouts on air. My girlfriend Pookie and I did like a little New Year's Eve rock and soul music thing here from our home. Yesterday I did a book marketing webcast, and here the very next day, so like 3 days in a row, I've been out there, put myself out there, and sharing some music and some marketing advice and all that. And so I encourage you to do the same. Don't delay. Act on those things, even if it's not perfect. Like, this is a new thing, and I'm learning as I go along. I'm actually trying a different setting here to try to get some of the warbling issues to go to even out. And so let me know how this sounds where you are. And in fact, so hopefully if you're watching this live, hopefully you're watching it on the actual YouTube page, and there's an opportunity for you to actually leave a comment. It should be over to this side of the page, again, when you're on YouTube, on the actual video page. And if you're not already logged into your Google account, most people have them, it's free. But if not, take a moment to log in and come back to the page here and refresh, and you should be caught up back with us live. But leave a message there. If nothing else, just let me know who you are, where you're watching from, and just let me know that you're there, so I can acknowledge you, and I can not only interact with you throughout this thing, but you can interact with each other too. I see that my friend Billy Gryzak is already there from Music Marketing Mind. And he's an active mover and shaker in the indie world. And so it's great to have you there, Billy. So I sent an email out to my mailing list asking for questions ahead of time, and I got a ton of them, and I could easily spend this hour just answering these. So I'm going to do a combination of things. I'm going to try to get through as many of these as I can. I'm going to keep an eye on the comments here, and again, if you're watching live, leave a comment. Obviously, if you're watching the replay, I won't be able to acknowledge you, and the comments then will appear below below this video once it's published as a replay. So don't be confused if you're watching it later. But I'm going to try to keep an eye on the comments here and answer as many as I can. I think I have so many questions here that I'm thinking of doing a part 2 instead of doing like one long webcast today and wearing my voice out. Maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, I will do another one. And the best way to find out if I am doing that is to make sure that you're on my Buzz Factor email list. That's my it's like my email newsletter for musicians and indie artists, and I've been publishing some version of it since the mid-90s, and so I'm pretty sure it's like the longest running music career tips email newsletter on the planet. I think I'm fairly accurate in saying that. And so all you have to do is go to thebuzzfactor.com, and there's a couple of over the top right corner of most pages, there's an opportunity to get a free report called the Music Marketing Secrets, and that gets you on the email list and gives you actually a number of goodies and free reports just for signing up. So if you're not on the list already, get on it at thebuzzfactor.com. That way you'll be kept up to date on all my latest postings and all that good stuff. So we've got Alan Tate is in the house here. Oh, Joe Stopka, who was part of one of the masterminds that I did a while back. Denise is on the line. Is that Grupp Verbon? Hi from Ohio. I hope I'm not butchering your last name, Denise. Jellius Pincus Bean from Eastvale, California. How awesome. Captain Jellybean is in the house. Patty Hunter, I think you've been on. You were on with when Pookie and I did a little music thing the other night. Welcome back, Patty. Brindle, I believe, watching from San Francisco. And I know I have, yeah, I know for sure that I got an email question from you. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right too, Brindle. I'll try to get to your question since you're on here. That would be so cool. So welcome everybody. So yeah, I want to try to get into these and give you some serious content here. Just a little bit about my background. I don't want to elaborate on this. Sometimes I'm a little too long-winded on letting people know who I are when most of the people in the audience kind of already know. But basically, I've been at this thing for a long time. My first book was published 21 years ago, and I actually, since I have the, I may as well take advantage of the video quality here, but my very first book that came out in late 92, 93-ish was called 101 Ways to Make Money in the Music Business, and this thing is long out of print, so don't go looking for it, but I remember a guy at the time joked that my follow-up, the sequel to that book, should have been 1,001 Ways to Lose Money in the Music Business, but I don't believe in scarcity thinking, so I shouldn't really repeat that joke. And that book, very quickly, a Japanese company actually bought the rights to it, and so very quickly, early in my author career, I was available in 2 languages. I was an international author. But over the years, I've self-published most of my books, including the Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook. Maybe I should hold it up over here, which is probably the book I'm most known for. It's used in college courses and all kinds of stuff. And over the years, I've just published dozens and dozens of either books, ebooks, audio programs, online courses, which I'm doing more of. In fact, there's one that starts on January 13th. And by the way, I'm coming to you live from my home in St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised here, and yes, that is my artwork on the background. I know Billy's a big fan of that Mr. Spock up there, so maybe, Billy, we can talk about what it would take. So, and I got Frank Zappa up there, Judy Garland, Elvis, of course, and then silhouette guy of a rocking out guitar dude. Oh, and there, right there, is my actual Taylor acoustic guitar. And you know, if I'm inspired, I might just play a song for you here if we have an opportunity. I can see the comments are getting active already. Kendra, is that Kendra, right? All right, cool. Formerly from St. Louis, calling from Austin. Rowan is on the line. Corduroy, is that correct? Larry Gibson. Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. So I think that's enough for the preliminary stuff. I'm going to kind of jump right into some of this. Oh, and Bruce Cassidy is on the line. In fact, Bruce, I've got actually, I combined 2 questions here. I'm going to go ahead and answer yours first. Bruce was kind enough to. Oh, actually, I think you posted it in the comments prior to going live. So let's if you're ready, let's crank this out. So Bruce asked, I have an aversion to selling myself, and talking myself up is my only resort to hire a publicist. Well, my short answer to that last question is no. That's not your only resort. Helge or Helgi, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, had a similar question. How do I promote my music online when I hate social media and want to spend my precious time composing music in my studio instead of sitting in front of a computer? So these are very similar questions, and it's one that I've dealt with from day one talking about music marketing, because for many creative people, from probably maybe even most creative people, the idea of promoting and selling their work is very uncomfortable. In fact, over the years, when I've done live workshops, very often I'll ask the audience, I'll say, so how many of you either dislike marketing, have a disdain for it, or at least feel uncomfortable about it? And like 80% of the hands will always go up in the room. The majority of musicians and creative people in general feel uncomfortable. They don't know they just feel out of their zone or whatever. But then I ask another question. I said, well, how many of you, if it's a music workshop that I'm doing, I'll say, how many of you feel comfortable with the idea, though, of sharing your music with people who would really enjoy hearing it? And like almost every hand in the room goes up, because with rare exception, most people that create music or art of any kind, they want to share it with people. You don't really want to create just in a vacuum. That's why you're on this call or on my mailing list, whatever, because you want to learn how to reach more people. So musicians are comfortable with the idea of being recognized for their work, of getting compliments, of having it reach. Know that something that you crafted, slaved, maybe toiled away in solitude on, or with your bandmates, is actually getting heard by people outside of your studio. um, and a little bit of money that comes your way, and fan base, some recognition, some notoriety, whatever. There are all sorts of perks that come with it. So you are, even if you Bruce, and many of you who are uncomfortable, you do probably like the idea of people hearing your music and enjoying it. So there's a couple of things here. I would just I would try to get on friendlier terms with the idea of marketing. And so if the word marketing just triggers something in you that's like, oh, I have an aversion to it. And also there's another thing, and I talk about in the very first chapter of the Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook, which is actually part of this upcoming module of the online class that I'm about to launch, is or talk about a lot of times you refer to marketing as a necessary evil. Have you ever referred to it, use this yourself on marketing? It's just, I gotta do it, it's a necessary. But how excited are you going to be about getting involved in something that you consider a necessary evil? You're not really going to be very empowered or positive or really looking forward to engaging in those activities. So you have to do a mental switch. A lot of this stuff, a lot of these this marketing stuff or just career success, it really happens in your head. I mean, ask any athlete how much of what they do on the field is physical versus the mental game, and so get on friendlier terms with it. So if you don't like the word marketing, stop using marketing. Stop using the word selling, and instead, I like to think of it as strategic sharing. You're just doing you, especially if you know how your music impacts people in a positive way. If you've ever spoken to somebody at a live event who was really touched by your songs, or ever got an email from somebody where they said, "Wow, that song made the world of difference to me," focus on that. And your mission then not becomes to talk about yourself and be boastful and blah, 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 but it's to spread that good feeling to more and more people. That's your mission. That's what motivates you, is I've got something good here, and people who are exposed to it, not everyone's going to like it, but those small percentage of people who listen to it and really resonate with it are really going to benefit. They're going to enjoy it. Either the experience of you playing live or listening to the recording in whatever setting they happen to be in. Focus on that, and marketing becomes a lot easier. And so reframe it. So I hope that helps there. Let me see here. Well, we got a lot of activity here in the. Let's see here. Well, this is great. Commenting takes me away from being able to watch the video. Am I doing something wrong? I think if you're logged in, you should be able to comment without stopping the video. I'm pretty sure, but of course I'm on the other end of this. From Madrid, Spain, I have so many great music projects to get started, but don't know where to start and if I should market them all under one brand. Yeah, so that's actually Corduroy Jack, I believe, from Madrid. Very cool. I get this a lot too, but you have different projects, or maybe you've been known for something for a long time, and then you decide to switch gears and you want to keep them separate. There's a lot of this. This is a new thing that I'm doing, and I don't want to confuse people. But as an indie artist, I mean, it can be such a challenge these days just to get people's attention for anything that you do. So I believe, even if unless it's drastically different to where you'd be embarrassed for one audience, but if it's just even if there's nothing to be embarrassed about or whatever, it's going to really chase away your old fans. I would try to use any momentum you've got in one area or with one identity or a previous band that you were in. Try to use that and piggyback off of it to direct people to the new thing instead of just starting from scratch and keeping everything separate. Like for instance, I'm primarily known as a music marketing, resource or expert or whatever, but I also have a separate website for authors and book publishers for that niche. So I have them separated, but yet if you go to my main sort of website, bob-baker.com, it becomes sort of like a portal to all things Bob related. So you go there, and it'll let you know about, well, if you're interested in music marketing, go here. If you're interested in book publishing, go here. If you're interested in my artwork, go here. My own music and other things that I'm working on, and I'm not afraid to tell the music people that I offer stuff for authors and vice versa. So yes, separate them to some degree, but also try to have some synergy where they're all kind of feeding each other too. Yeah, Larry Gibson bought the. That's right. Billy bought an early version of the Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook, and has been a fan and a friend ever since. If you go to thebuzzfactor.com, and search over in the little right sidebar for Mr. Billy or for children's music, you'll find a two-part podcast where I interviewed Billy a couple of years ago, and it's pretty inspiring stuff. Yeah, Heart Festival, challenge. Those are you questions. Yeah. Let me. I'm gonna go to this next question that was submitted ahead of time, and then got to check out the comments here. And again, I probably won't get to everything. So when I do, I think I'm gonna do a part 2 next week, and I'll look through the comments and pull out any questions that I can add maybe next week. But we're still early. We're just 15 minutes into it, so we're in good shape here. So Helge, or who I just read a question from, had another one that I grouped together with another person here, who I think is from Africa. But anyway, he asks, or she, he or she asks, should I try to find a small target group that I know enjoys my music, my type of music, instead of trying to reach everybody? And then Jules asked a question I hear a lot. I'm assuming Jules is from Africa, so or at least is into African music. How can I get my African music to make it in the North American market, meaning the U.S. and Canada? So I hear this a lot. People are trying to break into a market, and so you're trying to make a splash. And so here's my thing. As you'll notice throughout, if you've been following me for any length of time, or as you listen to my answers on this webcast here, you find that I have a very sort of different view of the independent path versus the traditional path. And I think a lot of us have in our heads, from decades of it being bombarded into our systems, what it means to be successful. And so quite often we are inspired to pursue music because of a well-known artist that we were amazed by. Whether today it could be, I don't know, Lady Gaga or somebody, but for like my generation, it was like seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I saw Led Zeppelin was one of the first concerts I saw back in the '70s. I know I'm dating myself here, but and so these are the artists that musically inspire us, and like, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to play music, and I want to be successful like that. And so you look at how you define success as somebody that's on the radio and on major tours and doing all this stuff, and that's great to aspire to that. But I just want to remind you that that's not the only definition of success. These days there are many shades of gray. It's not a black and white world like it used to be, where you were a huge hit or you were struggling and obscure. There's all these shades of gray. There are tons of artists that you've never heard of, or most people have never heard of, but they make a living, or at least they're making a difference with their music to their little slice of the market. And that's exactly what I do as an author. I'm not a celebrity by any stretch of the imagination. Never been on the New York Times bestseller list, but over these past 20 years I've developed a fan base of musicians who enjoy my writings and recommend it to friends, and it allows me to make a living. I'm actually coming up on 10 years soon. In 1st of February, it'll be a 10-year anniversary of me quitting my the last day job that I have, and supporting myself as an author ever since. So anyway, how does that answer this question? Good question, Bob. And so you get so anyway, you have to take a different approach. So while your goal might be to be everywhere and be a big hit and and make a big splash when you come into a market, as an indie artist with limited resources, limited time and energy to invest, limited money, I assume, you need to really focus. And so if you have playing African music and you're wanting to break into the North American market, first you need to find the places where people are already into African music. So I think what the thing is, your goal is you want to reach new people. People have never been exposed to this music, and you want to convert them to this new cool thing that you're doing. But the best way to start, that could be an eventual goal, that's what you can evolve to. But the best way to start is to what I call preach to the choir. You find people that are already sold, that are fans of your type of music, and so there are people there. I'm sure there are communities and events all across North America, here and there, that celebrate African music or international music. I know just here in St. Louis County, every year they have an international music or folk festival or something where they have, you know, music of all kinds. So anyway, you find out where those people are already hanging out. You go right to the people who are already sold. They're like the low-hanging fruit of your initial fan base, to where they just need to be made aware of you. But they're already predisposed to like you because they already like similar artists. Then once you kind of establish some traction and you get some, you start building up a fan base of people, again, who are already into that style of music that you do. Then you kind of widen the net. You ask them, well, hopefully organically they will be so amazed by your music and love it so much that they will just on their own will share it with their friends. That's the ideal situation, but you can also help that along by asking them to spread the word, and you slowly widen that fan base. So think of those early fans, the low-hanging fruit that I talked about, the people predisposed to like your music. Think of them as your early adopters. You know, they're the first people that will jump on the bandwagon, and then they will help you spread the message to a wider audience. But yeah, as an indie, you kind of got to think of those types of things. Should we do crowdfunding for me right now? Oh, I see Billy's trying to get people to chip in for the Mr. Spock for the Star Trek. You are a bit of a geek there, aren't you, Billy? Don't you have Star Trek and Star Wars stuff like in your home? And that's not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm into that. Featuring your services on Groupon. I'm not sure. Just testing. So we got some people. Yeah. So Billy, you have a. Yeah, unfortunately, with this YouTube thing, I don't. Even though I could probably do it with Hangouts in some way, I'm just. I don't have a way to bring people in like I do on my normal like teleconferences, so that to speak for people here. But Billy has a very active Facebook group, which I think is called Music Marketing Mind, which I assume I'm welcome to tell people about it, Billy, and seek it out and ask to join the group. I need to figure out something like this for my single. Love the pics on the wall. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Rowan says likes the pics on the wall. This is such a great thing to do. I need to figure out something like this for my single release. Yeah, so I mentioned New Year's Eve for like just a half hour or so early in the evening. My girlfriend Pookie and I did like a live little party. We played like 5 songs. What I did learn though is there's even though this live streaming. See, when I'm using a Snowball microphone from Blue Mountain. I had it for a few years, and it generally in the playbacks of these live things that I watch later, it generally works pretty well for spoken word. But this single microphone, in fact, I might play a song in a little bit if you guys twist my arm, but it warbles a lot. There's something, I don't know, I probably need a mixer and a better setup to do live music, but we got by with it, and most people said it sounded fine. But yeah, this is just great technology that you can use to your advantage. But thank you for the comment, for the kind words on the artwork, though. Bordello. Reframing language with all the questions chat here. We will answer all. Yeah, so Patty's asking with all the questions on the chat here, will you be able to answer? No, I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to answer all of them. Some of them might be outside of my area of expertise. I'm not going to do individual emails. I'm just going to answer as many as I can here, Patty. And so just bear. And then next week I mentioned that I'm going to be doing another one, at least another one of these where I'll answer as many questions as I didn't get to today. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, please log into your Google account and leave a comment if you're watching live. Obviously, if you're watching the replay, the comments won't be there; they'll be below the video. But right now, they're off to the side here. Just let me know who you are, where you're from. Some other resources are marketing in book form and on the net. Why did the majority? Yeah, so I guess that's Frank is asking why, in spite of all the resources on marketing in both book form and on the net, why do the majority of musicians seem woefully ignorant of even basic music marketing principles? Yeah, so there's a couple of things there. Wow. Yeah, well, on one hand, I guess I have a little bit of job security because there's always going to be a need for marketing advice for different creative fields. And so there's always a new generation of people, and even people that think they know marketing need refreshers. Because I guess the thing that I've been focused on this kind of relentlessly for like 20 years, and so it's top of mind. I'm always researching, I'm writing about it, so I kind of have a handle, and even I, who spend so much time researching and immersing myself in this stuff, don't know it all. And so you, who are, we got families and jobs and gigs and recordings and all that stuff, you're when you just put a little bit of attention on the marketing thing, it can be overwhelming. And so a lot of people just don't get it for that reason. And there's another thing. A lot of people think that, well, if everyone read your books, we'd all be successful. But no, not that. Just people. So buying the book is like the first step. So there are musicians who don't invest in education at all. They're not really part of my audience. Then there are people that invest in education and books, and quite often the investing, the buying it, purchasing it, downloading it or receiving it makes them feel good. But then they often let it sit. And don't do anything about it. So there's the purchasing, the investing in things. And plus, there's a ton of free stuff online too. But then there's the actual the consumption of it. You have to spend time listening or reading. Then you have to. That's another step. Then you have to take the ideas and come up with plans and then implement them and experiment with them. And then you have to do all this stuff consistently. So there's so many levels here that so many people fall off the wagon at different levels. That's why so few artists, even in the indie world, there's no guarantee that there's a level playing field, but there's never going to be a level experience of success across the board, because everybody comes at it with different set of tools and a different mindset and all that stuff. I see there's some Star Wars action going on here. I can't post a Facebook grass. Okay, maybe it's not letting you. But yeah, Music Marketing Mind is there. Another music one. Blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. I'm going to go on with the next question here. So Stan Silver, who I think is actually already signed up for my next, I'm redoing Module 1 of the Guerrilla Music Marketing Masterclass. It starts on Monday, January 13th. I believe Stan is a student in that. He writes, I have 2 videos up on YouTube, one with over 430,000 views. Congratulations, that's almost 500,000 views, and the other one over 16,000 views. And then he says, and never even had a request from anyone to buy either one of the songs. What do I need to change? So I went to the to Stan's website and just checked out those videos. And there's a couple of things. Yeah, it's got a ton of views, a lot of positive comments. And so there's this thing called a CTA, which stands for Call to Action. It's very important. I may mention it a couple times here. It's something it comes up regularly in all my music marketing stuff, especially when it comes to social media and online stuff. But a call to action is when you ask someone to do something. So you do have a very good call to action, Stan, in your description. So on the YouTube page, which I guess you're watching it now, there's the video. Under that is the title, I believe. And then under that, there's like a little description. And you can put a lot of text in that description field, but it only shows by default like the first 2 or 3 sentences. You have to click see more or something like that to be able to expand it. But most people don't even know that you can do that. So it's really crucial to put the most important information in the first sentence or 2. And so having a call to action with a link is crucial in your YouTube videos in the description field. So you have a call to action on that video, and it's to get 4 free songs by getting on your mailing list. That's very, very smart. You should always be using things that you post on a regular basis to build your mailing list, send people to your site to get onto it. However, there's no call to action to purchase the single. You don't even say if it's available or where it is. So there's a number. So if you're putting up a video to sell a single or to sell an album, there's a couple things that you can do. And prior, when you're actually editing the video together, put text in it, either at the beginning, at the end, or you can have it sort of come up as an overlay, like toward the bottom of the screen with your website. But maybe at the beginning and the end, have some text that comes up before and after the video that says, go to our website or go to iTunes or whatever to purchase this song. So you remind people that it's available, give them a call to action, ask them to actually do it. Now Stan has already got this video up, so he probably can't go back and edit it, and you can't re-upload to the same to the same URL or whatever for that thing. So he doesn't want to do that. But there's a thing called annotations on YouTube where you can add these little text boxes that come up, and they're used for all sorts of purposes. You can have them come up and say subscribe to my channel, but now you can go and have at certain times in the video have an annotation come up saying this song is available. And then maybe for this song, if your purpose for it is to get sales more so than build your mailing list, then that should be your call to action with a direct link wherever you want to send people. That could be a sales page on your website. It could be directly to the sales page on iTunes. And so those are a couple of things that I would do. So there's an odd wording here, Stan. One more thing. In your email, you said, I never even had a request from anyone to buy. So it sounds to me like you're just waiting for them to contact you to let you know that they're interested in buying it. That's like an extra step. So that's why you got to have it directly in there, and they can just do it without having to contact you. And so, yeah, make it available somewhere on iTunes, on Bandcamp, as a download from your website, wherever, and then send them directly there and ask them to do it within the video, under the video, at all sorts of places. So let's see what we got going on here in the comments. Let me just refresh the page here. But I really appreciate you doing this. I hope you're getting some value out of it. And okay, let's see where we left off. Would be great. Yeah, Brindle's asking. I did get some questions about. There are things that are just sort of outside of my real knowledge, direct knowledge. I need to do some like music licensing. Brindle, I know you're asking me about that. It's kind of out. I got some stuff on it, but I don't know a whole lot of details on that. And the same thing with like radio airplay, which is another one that's coming up here. But first, let me just tell you, I've made a mention a couple times of this class that's coming up, and so I'm just going to get a little plug in here for it. So basically, last year was a year of experimentation and doing a lot of cool new things. And one of the things I did was my Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook. It was long overdue for an update, and so I spent actually a number of months in, I guess, 2012 and early 2013 just completely revamping this thing, especially the internet chapters, and I just went through the whole thing and gave it a big update and revision, and released it early in 2013. And to make even better use of it, I mean, it's great to have a book with information that you read, and tons of people have just raved over the years about what they get out of just doing that alone, but I wanted a more immersive experience, and so I started launching these 4-week online courses that I started last January, and each module is a 4-week class, and it's based on a section of the book. So I don't know if you know this, but like back in 2007, Berklee College of Music in Boston, they approached me and asked me to create a new course for them called Music Marketing 101, which I did, and I was the teacher for most of the sessions for 5 years. It was a great experience, you know, learning. Teaching for Berklee was wonderful. I had students from all over the world, and I used their infrastructure and their platform there to teach this course. Well, they retired it like a year and a half ago, and actually freed me up then to create my own courses. And with that 5 years of experience of teaching Berklee, I learned a few things of how to engage students, and I added things to the classes that I wasn't able to do with Berklee. And so anyway, every Monday starting January 13th, you'll get a new lesson. The lessons consist of several pages of a PDF file with just the information, based on the chapters of the books. Then there's like a few pages of worksheets. And Billy, I know you've been through just about all of them. If you want to leave a comment there about what you've gotten out of them, or anyone else who's taken them, I would love to hear that. Get a little testimonial from you there. But the worksheets are where you take the ideas, the things covered in the lesson, and then you apply them to yourself. You actually print these out, you fill them out, and you can apply the lessons to your unique identity as an artist in your particular situation. But the most powerful aspect of this that I added a little over a year ago, that's just been life-changing for a lot of people, is I pair you up with a success partner. This is another student taking the course, and you become sort of like accountability partners. You encourage each other, and I recommend that you connect with each other 3 to 5 times a week. 5 would be ideal, like Monday through Friday, every morning, but you can work it out between you, the schedule of it based on time zones and work schedules and all that stuff. But you connect with this person, this other student taking the same journey up to 5 times a week, and you compare notes. And then another aspect of this is I encourage you to choose 3 simple things that you do every day. Not big projects that'll overwhelm you, just 3 little tiny marketing steps that you can take every day, and you share those with your success partner every day that you talk to them. And then the next day that you talk, you go over the 3 things. Well, here's what I did all my 3 things, or I got 2 of the 3 done, or whatever. And then you tell them what you're going to be doing that day. And so when you know you're going to be talking to somebody on the phone or by Skype or whatever the next day, and you've committed to doing a couple simple things, it's amazing how much you get done when you have that sort of that partner aspect to it. There's also a private Facebook group where people can interact throughout the class and beyond with each other and with me. And then there are also 4 live 60 to 90-minute conference calls where, again, you can ask me questions and I can actually hear your voice on those things. So I'll come back and talk about the topics in a little bit. But let me see if we got any new comments here. Yeah, Billy, let's see here. Billy made a good comment there about, let me see, about how he knows a ton of marketing stuff. He's lived it, but he still educates himself and invests in classes and all that good stuff. Book on the show. Okay. Oh, wow. So Denise says, I teach several music business classes in place and supervise the music business interns at a community college. If you could teach these green students just one thing, what would it be? Actually, there's another question in here that might, I think, let's see here. Yeah, so there's a guy named Andrew James that asked a similar question, maybe. Being a new and young musician with minimal fans, I need to check off the ones that I've answered so I know what to come back to next week. Okay, being let's see here, a new and young musician with minimal fans, I don't even know where to start with marketing. What's the first step in establishing myself in the music industry, and how do you build on that? Okay, there's a little word in there, a little phrase that, again, I just want to give my perspective on. He says, what's the first step in establishing yourself in the music industry? I understand the concept there, the music industry. I mean, you need to partner with people, and you need to, you need to have people that you work with in the music industry, like venue people and media people, bloggers, all this stuff. But I've never really considered, I don't consider myself, I've never been interested in impressing the industry. And I would encourage you, if you're taking this independent path, to stop thinking about, I got to get involved in the industry. Focus instead on fans. Not impressing gatekeepers or people. There aren't many gatekeepers anymore anyway, but focus on fans. Your job is to be an artist and to connect directly with the people who are going to enjoy your music. So you don't need to be part of the industry or know anyone in the industry to connect directly with fans. I would also, if you're new and a young musician, your focus really needs to be to write, record, and perform your own music, and to do it as often as you possibly can. I assuming that you're doing original music, Andrew, and for Denise, I don't know what those green students are. But if you're an artist, yeah, write, record, and perform. Because I know that there's a piece of advice that I've given. I guess a caveat. Is that what it is? But I had to clarify, because I talk about branding a lot and how the importance of knowing who you are as an artist and communicating a specific identity to specific fans and all that stuff. But if you're really new or early in your career, or if you're kind of restarting one, like there's another guy who wrote here who had been a musician 25 years ago and then got away from it. Excuse me. Pardon me. It's a live broadcast burp there on YouTube. Thank you very much. But if you're getting back into it and you're sort of redeveloping your style, don't put too much pressure on yourself to have this niche and have this specific identity. If you're still evolving and developing as an artist, just play with it. You know, you just want to write, record, perform as often as possible. Get in front of people, perform anywhere. Give most of your music away early on. If you know, I know there's a lot of controversy around this, but when you're just trying to gain some traction and starting from scratch, I think you give away most of your music and play anywhere and everywhere that you can. Now that changes over time. If I were to have a graph here, where I'm trying to, let's see here. Or maybe, yeah, early in your career, let's try it this way. Early in your career, you're down here and you're giving everything away, right? Or all of your music or most of your music, you're playing anywhere, you're busking, street performing, you're doing all this stuff. As you go along, you change, you get a little bit more selective. You give away maybe half of your music, but the other half you hold back and sell. You be more selective about where you play. You start not playing as often, and then as you go through your career, you go higher and higher up. I mean, even at the peak of your career, you could probably still give some stuff away and do charity events and all that, but you get more selective as you gain traction. But in the early days, you just want to be, you're just trying to get into the ears, get people to know that you exist. And so give yourself time to develop and have some fun with it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself early on to go, I need a brand. But you can right off the bat start focusing on fans, finding those people when you play at a coffee shop. Go up to people and talk to them. People who compliment you. Get to know them. Get them on your mailing list. All that good stuff. Yeah, no one's a complete expert on music marketing. I get really self-conscious in my voice. Rally if I myself sabotage. You go over a bit of how to get past the awkwardness. Oh, when getting started. Okay, so yeah, Jack, welcome, Jack. He asked, Bob, can you go over a bit of how to get past the awkwardness when getting started in music marketing? So I forgot to mention that earlier. We talked about that earlier about the disdain for marketing and the necessary evil. I think I covered that. But marketing and sales is definitely outside the comfort zone of of many artists. And so there's actually a video on YouTube from, I don't know, like a year or two ago that I did. I'll just sort of paraphrase what I said on that video, is that think about this new thing that you're doing with music marketing like it's similar to when you learn to play an instrument. I have a feeling most of the people on here play an instrument of some kind, probably the guitar, the piano, maybe the drums, the bass, whatever. When you had this inkling years ago I want to learn how to play the piano or the guitar, when you first picked it up, was it easy? Did it come natural to you? I don't think so. It was very awkward. If you're a guitar player, you had calluses, and the tips of your fingers hurt. You were using muscles in your fingers you never used before. It actually got painful. It got frustrating because your fingers wouldn't cooperate with what you were wanting to play. So did you go, this whole playing thing, it's a necessary evil. Just screw it. I'm going to move on. Works at the library or something. No, you pushed through the awkwardness because you knew that once you stuck with it, on the other side there would be a better feeling or a better state, that you were heading towards. And so, very similar to playing an instrument and learning how to play it. At first, it's all like mechanics. You're thinking about, okay, I got to do this for this reason. I got to put my finger here, and then on that C note, I got to, and then at some point, the mechanics get into a little bit of a state of flow to where you're still thinking about what you're doing, but you're able to get the rhythms or play the piano the way that you basically want, although it's not perfect. But at some point, muscle memory kicks in, and you're just strumming and playing, and then you're all feel. You're not thinking about where your fingers are going. You're just doing it. And so, maybe marketing isn't quite that touchy-feely of an experience, but it can be actually. I think that marketing should be fun. It should be creative. It should be an extension of who you are as an artist and as a person. It should be authentic to who you are. You don't have to be a used car salesman. You don't have to be boastful. You market in your style and your authentic voice. And so just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's something you shouldn't do, in the same way that playing an instrument was something that you were meant to do if you learned to. You just have to push through it. Has anyone got the URL for the video being discussed? Probably. Yeah, I don't have the ability to grab it right now. I'm trying to remember. I think it might be called How to Get Comfortable with Music Marketing. but maybe I'll put it in the comments after the live show here. Let's see here. So I got a lot of questions about radio airplay, and again, the commercial radio airplay is not something I'm totally well versed on. But again, let's expand our definition of what radio airplay, what you mean by that. Basically, you want to get music played in some kind of station or some kind of show so that more people will hear you. So let's not think about, well, how do I get on commercial radio or college or community? Let's just think of how can I get my ears into or my music into shows that help me reach more fans. Just a couple of sort of off the wall things. I don't know where this stands now, but I know for a long time there was this thing called PodSafe Music, where there are different repositories. There still are. There's one called, it's now called musicalley.com. It used to be the PodSafe Music Network, but I think it's still active. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is a site where podcasters go to find music for their podcasts, and everything listed on the site or available on the site. The artists have agreed to, not charge any royalties or whatever, and make it available. So that's one thing. Of course, a lot of the answers to a lot of these marketing questions are the Google stuff. Google your genre and podcast, or your genre, name some descriptive word for your music, and put the word music blog or music podcast, and see what comes up in your Google searches, and then you will try to find popular, active shows that play your style of music, and then look for a contact page. Send them an email going, hey, I just discovered your podcast. I really, and maybe listen to an episode, find out who the host is so that you're actually saying something genuine. And if you like the show and think it'd be a perfect fit, say, I love what you're doing, just wanted to make you aware, our band plays this and that, and it seems like a great fit with what you're doing. Let me know how you'd like the music, blah, 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 or how you'd like me to send you the music. But another thing that I don't see a lot of people do is, how about reaching out to people with popular podcasts, whether they're music related or not, and offering to write a theme song for them, as long as they'll give you a plug for doing so. And what made me think of this is there's a lot of these like business and internet marketing podcasts, and a lot of them use the same guy. He's like a voiceover talent, and welcome to the blah 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 podcast. Here's your host, and it's the same guy that they all use and recommend to each other. So I'm thinking, well, why couldn't a musician do that? Couldn't you be like the go-to musician for podcast theme music? And even if you're giving it away for free, as long as there's some reciprocal thing. Maybe you could charge for it, certainly. Why not? But even if you were giving it to them in exchange for a link or a mention on their show, the theme song by so-and-so at blah, blah, blah.com, that might be kind of a cool way to get a lot of... But quite often they play those theme songs at the beginning and the end of every podcast episode. So I see there's been a flurry of activity in the comments here. What is going on here? See, focus on enjoying getting your message across like you would in a heated debate. You'll lose. Pardon the silence here while I try to read some of these comments. Oh yeah, Billy's mentioning that he's had accountability of many accountability partners, because he's taken I think every course that I've offered, and he's still in touch with those people. Yeah, a lot of friendships form in these Facebook groups, and when you're teamed up with success partners. For sales and bookings go. Yeah, the calls are very interactive. Frank already signed up for another class. That's okay, Frank. You're still welcome. I still love you, buddy. Okay, here. I learned a lot from things. So Frank has the Encore Edition book. That's kind of like the sleeper title. I need a better cover on that. I probably need to update it too, but that has a lot of great stuff in it. The Guerrilla Music Marketing Encore Edition. It was actually like the second in that series. Okay, like Jim's question, can you riff on that, Bob? If we are not getting enough positive feedback, such as sales, likes, compliments, etc., what do you do? Well, there's a number of factors that could be doing that. Obviously, cranking out better music. I mean, you never know whether it's the music or if it's the awareness factor. I mean, there's a lot of great songs that sit out there and people aren't exposed to them because there's not enough interaction going on with them. But yeah, one way to encourage that is to ask. Again, earlier I mentioned calls to action, CTAs. And so when you post something, whether it's on Facebook or on your blog or on Twitter or on YouTube, ask people to do something. Ask them to comment. What do you think of this song? If you like it, hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment. So yeah, sometimes you have to ask people to do those things. Now, if you're having calls to action and a lot of people are interacting, but most of it's negative, then either you're attracting the wrong fans, or you need to go back and maybe tweak your music and woodshed for a while and come out with a new, some new songs, or get some feedback, from professional audio people. I don't know what the deal. But there's so many factors here. It's just hard to pinpoint one reason why you wouldn't be getting it. But it's either the music's not resonating with the right people, or you're not asking and getting it out there in a way that's going to encourage some interaction and positive feedback. So anyone interested in hearing now I like to remind people in my workshops that I'm a real live working musician and have been since my teens, and I show embarrassing pictures from the 80s. If you've ever seen a live workshop, you may have chuckled at my perm from the from the 80s. But I'm trying to take advantage of this, have some fun with this too, even though I'm using this for music marketing. I hope you guys don't mind. You mind if I play an original song here? I mean, I give you a choice. So, as I said, when the guitar gets involved here on this single microphone, it might get a little warbly. So I'm not sure how this is going to sound as it streams live, but I'm going to just do my best here. I'm going to push the microphone a little away so it doesn't overdrive too much. So this is an original song, and I was actually inspired by a feeling of most of my songs are pretty positive, and actually this one is too, as you'll hear pretty quickly. But this one, have you ever been through like a downtime or a dark night of the soul, a dark night that maybe lasted a week or two or longer, and then you come out of it with sort of when you first start to come out of it and see the sunshine again, there's a certain feeling. And I remember like several years ago, I was depressed about something for like a few days, and just moping around, feeling sorry for myself. And then I was like watching David Letterman, or one of the talk shows, and there was a joke that I just laughed out loud, apparently for the first time in a few days, and I felt like the endorphins, and because I hadn't experienced that because I was just sort of depressed for a few days. And I remember it was kind of a feeling, wow, this feels good. Maybe I'm coming out of it, So anyway, I just wanted to. This is kind of a song about that feeling of coming out of a dark time, but emerging better on the other side. How do you feel today? What do you have to say? Refusing to try, wondering why tomorrow's another day. Then something inside you burns. It's bigger than your concerns. You change how you feel, make something real, a glowing light returns. How do you feel today when everything goes your way? Comes from deep inside, it's something you can't hide away. Dress up in your best smile, drive on another mile, looking for signs, connecting lines. This trip can take a while, but when you release the doubt and confidence ends the drought, you feel alive with nothing to hide and happiness breaks out? How do you feel today when everything goes your way? It comes from deep inside, it's something you can't hide. How do you feel today? Come on outside and play. It comes from deep inside, it's something you can't hide away. I know it's not easy, but you get to choose. Make up your mind, and you know you cannot lose. How do you feel today when everything goes your way? It comes from deep inside, it's something you can't hide. How do you feel today? Come on outside and play. It comes from deep inside, it's something you can't hide away. How do you feel today? How do you feel today? The crowd goes wild. Okay. Thank you for letting me indulge you there. A little bit of music. Since I do have a virtual room full of musicians, I thought I would just share some of that gift with you, and hopefully you appreciate it. Took a little break from the music marketing. So let's see here. We got Andrew James is on. Did I already? Oh yeah, I actually answered your question, Andrew. I don't know if you heard that. Let me do a little refresh here, real quick. And nice. Oh, cool. Power Bridge, yes. Yeah, I've actually Billy and I collaborated on a little song that he did for one of his children's music CDs. Well, thank you for the nice compliments there. So let's see here. I'm going to just maybe answer one or two more and then probably bring this to a close. And then, yeah, I knew I wouldn't get to all of these. And then we'll come back next week and do another one. I'll have to figure out what day of the week it is. Let's see here. Okay, Mike Silverman, my friend, asked, should I focus on only one style of music to build a focused audience for music, or write and record anything I'm inspired to write? So this has come up a lot over the years. I'll answer this real quickly here. But so if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you're obviously a musician of some sort. You're a creative person. You're an artist. And also you're a human being. There are many facets of our being. You have a variety of interests, a variety of things that you do, and that includes music. You can play probably all sorts of styles and techniques and all this stuff, and it's great. It's creatively satisfying. So my answer is, should I focus on one style of music or write and record anything I'm inspired to do? And actually, I would say yes. Yes to both of those. Don't hinder, you don't have to stop doing all this, any of the variety stuff. However, I will tell you, though, that from a marketing standpoint, having a focus is very important. It makes your job of marketing a lot easier. It's really hard to market or to promote, hey, I'm all things to all people. Need music? I got it. As opposed to, we do Afro-Cuban dance music or something, which is very niche, very specific, And so here's what I would do. This is all comes to branding. So years ago I mentioned that or maybe I didn't, but I wrote a book called Branding Yourself Online. It's also out of print now. And it's called How to Use the Internet to Become a Celebrity or Expert in Your Field. Came out like in 2001. And in the book, I interviewed a number of people, did some Q&As in there, and one of the people I interviewed had this brilliant analogy for branding. He said, think of it as a character, like how an artist does a caricature. You know what the caricature artists are with political cartoons or something? Like with a caricature, you take a person's face or body or whatever, and you take one or two elements of it and you expand it, and then you diminish everything else. And so with some people, it could be a big nose, it could be a big ears, it could be eyes, depending on the celebrity and what their main feature is. And so that's a great way to look at branding. You don't disown or ignore all the different creative range that you have, but from a branding point, you have to pick something that's going to be like your leading edge. It's your leading identity with the public. That's the one that you promote. That's what your website, for the most part, focuses on. And that's really the best way to handle that. And I'm also reminded of the story that I heard years ago when Derek Sivers, the founder of CD Baby, when he was doing the music circuit more often, I heard him give another analogy where he was talking about, imagine that there's a wall in front of you, and your goal is to break. Let's say that the wall represents the music, marketplace. On the other side of the wall, getting to the other side of the wall represents success and having a fan base and all this stuff, having a career in music. Your job then is to break through that wall and get to the other side. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that, or try to do that. And so what Derek said was, one way is you could take a big flat piece of plywood and push it up against the wall and apply pressure over a wide area and push and push and push. But what's the likelihood that you're going to break through to the other side using that approach? No, because all the pressure is dispersed over a wide area. You're trying to push through the entire wall at the same time. Therefore, you don't make any progress. Another way to do it is to take an ice pick and a hammer, and you go over to a specific place on the wall, and you hit through, and you break through with the tip of the ice pick, kind of like a prison break. I don't know why I thought of that, but once you get through, then you sort of widen that circle until it gets wider and wider, and then you can actually step through it and create a way to get to the other side. That's to me what effective branding is. It's having this leading edge, call it ice pick marketing, where you have some leading identity. Now again, as I mentioned earlier, if you're real early in your career and you're still developing, don't put too much pressure to have that brand identity, because you're still trying to find your voice. So early on, just play and have fun with it until you find something that you can use. So that's my best answer to that question. Let me see what's going on in the comments here, then we're going to wrap this up pretty quick. Where's the audio? Oh, good, cool. Yeah, I'm glad that the audio wasn't bad. I know there's some warbling that takes place when I play the guitar. It's not me, I swear to God. And then there's timing issues too, where it sounds like I'm out of time, but I have impeccable rhythm, I promise. Oh, good, Patty's clapping. Applause, cool. That was a little earlier. They got recorded like CDs, and they sell best with the selfish CDs. Yeah, so Billy's got. Billy's I tell you, Billy. I assume you're going to be part of the upcoming class in some way. But he's always a great sounding board, and he's been brilliant at having themed CDs. Most of them in the children's area. I think he's also going into the zombie music or something now, which I'm sure there'll be a similar thing. But he does 15 to 18 themed CDs. It could be about libraries. It could be about the trains, or animals, the zoo. That's a brilliant thing to have themed CDs. So let me just maybe just do one other question here. Okay, this is just more of a philosophy thing. It kind of harkens back to something I said earlier. But Laura asked. There's some key things here. I just want to, if you find yourself saying stuff like this, I just want you to stop and think about this. So he says, how can a struggling singer-songwriter get ahead or get a leg up on all the competition if you don't have a friend in the music business? Okay, so this is a common sort of perspective from someone new. But there's some, so let's just check out some of the wording here. She says, how can a struggling singer-songwriter get ahead? So I would just advise you, not just, this isn't just for Laura, it's for, we've all done this, and I've done it myself. If you start using labels like struggling to describe yourself, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I know you can say I'm being a realist because it's really hard or whatever. I get it. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean that life is easy when you stop using these words. But if you start labeling yourself and identifying yourself as a struggling singer-songwriter, you will live up to that expectation. I'm just saying, you know, these change and self-empowerment comes in small stages, and so change your wording on that. Whoever uses that, in the same way of marketing being a necessary evil. It says, because how can a struggling songwriter get ahead or get a leg up on all of the competition? So that's another thing too. You think of every other artist as a competitor, and you're all fighting for a limited marketplace. That's another thing that I would encourage you to reframe. Yes, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a ton. It seems like everybody and their mother is as a musician trying to sell music, but stop thinking of them as competition. You're a unique individual. No one else on the planet has ever will or ever has, you know, existed exactly like you. Nobody brings what you bring to your music and your lyrics and your perspective on life, so you are unique. There's no competition. Sure, you have to do things to be noticed in a noisy world, but stop thinking of other artists as competition. And actually, you can collaborate with other artists in a similar vein in many ways, and you all rise together. So I would also try to reframe that adversarial thing. Now, again, Laura, if you're listening to this now or later, I'm not trying to pick on you because everyone struggles with this. This is kind of a blanket advice here. And she says, how do you get a leg up if you don't have a friend, in quotes, in the music business? Again, you don't need friends in the music business. What you need is fans. As I mentioned earlier, focus on fans. Your only goal, this is my philosophy. Sure, you need people in the business. You need to have relationships with venues and media people and bloggers and booking agents and all the people that can help you, but your primary focus as an independent artist is to focus on fans. And here's the cool thing, is if you focus on fans and you build a fan base, build a mailing list, people start showing up to your performances, you will suddenly have a lot of friends in the music business showing up who want to play with you. But when you don't have a fan base, people, you know, like a manager doesn't have anything to manage if you're too early in your career. You know, venues, they're taking a risk when they open up, you know, and have to pay for the electricity and the staff, and so they want to know that people will come out. So you don't need friends, you need fans. You don't need friends in the music business, but you need to turn your fans into friends, and then the music business people will come your way. So that's my little bit of philosophy there. Great pick of Elvis. Thanks for all you've shared with us. Does anyone mark? Language and your own perspective on things makes a huge difference. I tell you, Rowan, that you're absolutely right. So thank you for mentioning that, Billy. So I'm just gonna end with a little plug for the upcoming class, and then I'll come back and next week and do another one of these, because this was a lot of fun and there are a lot of questions yet to be answered. But anyway, so you're assuming you're watching this live, or even if you're watching the replay, you're watching on the YouTube page. Right under me should be the title, my little mug, and under that is a description. Remember I talked about the call to action and the importance of putting a link in the very first part of the description under a video where I practice what I preach. Right there you'll see a link that goes directly to the page for the Music Marketing Master Class. It starts a week from Monday, on Monday, January 13th. It's actually 4 weeks with a bonus 5th lesson that I throw in. So if you want to think of it as a 5-week class, that's fine. Earlier I mentioned all the things that you get with it, like a success partner, private Facebook group, worksheets, and a thing where I encourage you to, and the whole key here is for you to take action. I don't want you just to fill your head with information. That is not my goal. Because you can get the information of the class actually in the book, but what separates the book from the class is the immersive, experiential, get off your butt and actually use this stuff and make progress. And people have made amazing progress. Billy can testify to that. Some of the people that have taken this, when you're working with your partner, it's amazing what you can accomplish in just 1 month. And this is the perfect time of the year to do that, because you're probably in that, you know, let's make this year kick ass. And so take advantage of that. Strike while the iron's hot. You have a success partner. You're encouraged to choose 3 things every day. They don't have to be directly. I mean, it's great if they're directly related to the lesson. I give you a ton of suggestions, but I want these 3 things that you do and the progress that you make to be customized for you. And so this is all about taking whatever your current project is, breaking it down. What's the 3 top things, little things that I can do that I can get done today? You talk to your success partner, encourage each other. We talk once a week for 4 weeks in a row on a live conference call. There's the Facebook group where you can interact. So it's a fully immersive experience, and I've played with this. It's my 5 years of doing Berkeley, and I did 4 modules of this throughout 2013, and I think I found a way that is the most beneficial for students taking it, a system that seems to work. And so I would encourage you to jump on this. And so the first module, this module that I'm doing in January, is basically the foundational one. It's called Laying the Foundation for Independent Music Success. And the topics that we'll cover, lesson 1 will be 3 simple steps to effective music marketing, where we just start with the basics in these 3 different areas that I have deemed to be really what marketing and sales comes down to. Lesson 2 is the power of goal setting. That's an amazing week where there's actually, this whole step-by-step thing that actually get really specific about your goals and who you're going to be working with and all this stuff that people are raved about. Lesson 3 is the first 5 steps to marketing and profiting from your music. And in that we get into a little bit of describing yourself, describing your ideal fans, brand identity statements, all that. Lesson 4 is the #1 question you must answer when promoting your music. And this is a crucial mistake that I see time and time again, but you will never make it after you go through that week. And then there'll be a bonus lesson. I'm going to add a 5th lesson. I'm just actually, instead of listing it there, I'm going to get a feel for the needs of the class, and I'm either going to create something new or pull something out of the vault that I think would really be appropriate for this group. So I'm going to throw in an extra something, or maybe have somebody on for an interview or something. Again, depending on the needs of the class, there'll be a bonus lesson there. And so early bird pricing actually ends tomorrow night. Friday, January 3rd is when the early bird discount of $147 will end, and it'll go up to $197 for that final week leading up to the launch of it on January 3rd. So please check that out. I would really love for you to join us on that and just get a great kick butt start to 2014. So I'll get around. So okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You guys rock. I see this. Talk about Second Life and other stuff here. But I think I'm going to wrap that up. Thanks again for letting me indulge you with some original music there. I hope you found this helpful. Ton of tips here. Again, I will have this same page will become the replay page as soon as it processes. And so if you want to send your friends, your bandmates, or your team members there, or if you missed part of it, came in late or whatever, you come back and watch the early part of it in just a little while. But I appreciate you, and thanks a lot for being a creative person and being willing to express your talents and to share it with the world. And if I can in some way help you reach more people with your music and touch more people and make a difference in their lives, then I will have done my job here. So Happy New Year. Thanks again, and get on the mailing list at thebuzzfactor.com, and I'll let you know when I'm going to do part 2 next week. All right, folks. Take care. Thanks. So long for now.